Hey Truth Seekers, it's Nathaniel with another strategy series video. Today I'm going to be covering all the support cards that kind of really work for any deck that they're in. There's a variety of reasons why I've chosen these cards, and at the end of the video I'm going to present you with the cards I like to basically try and put and fit into every deck. Alright? So we're just going to go and put these all up here and move on. Start off with, I like Hybrid level 2. The reason why I like Hybrid level 2 is because he has an ability that says when this card is played from your hand to grow Hybrid level 1, you may search your deck for one standard power card and place it into your power pool. The reason why I think that he can kind of fit in any deck is that he can search for any standard power card when he's grown. He does not have to be activated. You do not have to pay power cards in order to activate him to gain an action to search for power cards. You just grow him and he grabs any standard power card you need. And usually when I have run a Faith deck, I like using Hybrid because Faith doesn't have a whole lot of ways searching for their power cards, and Hybrid's one way that I can do that. Next up, I have Floraline level 2. Floraline level 2 I like because it just has the ability, as long as it's in your small group, there's no limit to the number of power cards you may play from your hand to your power pool. You just go ahead and just drop Floraline, play all your power cards. She's great for that. And I only really have one deck that I try to use her in, and that's because that deck draws a lot of cards. And she seems a bit redundant to use in a deck like Levi. Otherwise, I would try her in that deck. But technically, she can just fit in any deck. This Prayer Gwyn can sit in your small group and just swap out your power cards. You need a different power card than what you have, a different power card setup. You let them sit in your small group and just keep swapping. Next up is Cordial. Cordial level 3. Cordial level 3 can sit in your small group and provide you and change all your activation costs to Faith, Hope, Love, or Holy Spirit. And just change all those costs into Universal. It's really good and basically kind of makes anything work in any deck. And we're just starting off with all the ones that work with power cards. The next three don't necessarily work in every deck. And however, they do have an effect where they just sit in your small group, and they can just sit in your small group and you never have to activate them, and they're just treated as additional power. He does not work in a Holy Spirit deck. He only works in the deck that works with Hope, and she only works in the deck that uses Love. So I think that between all three of these, Prayer Gwyn has the highest potential because it only doesn't work in decks that need Holy Spirit power. But I use this in a Holy Spirit deck, but it's a Holy Spirit that uses Faith. Alrighty. Next up, we have story cards. These story cards interact with power cards. Into the Fire lets you swap up to 3 power cards from your power pool with standard power cards that you find in your deck. Basically, if you have been getting the wrong power cards all game for the type of animal you're drawing, you can just use Into the Fire to swap them out. Slumber Tumbler allows you to select a standard power card from your power pool, and you place this card on top of it. That power card may not be used this turn. On your following turn, that power card may be used twice. Discard this card after. Copper Coins lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, and you may place up to 2 power cards you find there directly in your power pool. In decks where I have trouble finding power, I like using Copper Coins. Alongside Copper Coins, we also have the Shoes of the Gospel. It says once per turn, as long as this card's attached to one animal in your small group, you may look at the top card of your deck. If that card's a power card, you place it directly in your power pool. Otherwise, put that card back on top. So these cards may be used in any deck to help you with power cards. Next up, we're going to talk about Mercifier Ultra and Aquilion Ultra. Mercifier Ultra and Aquilion Ultra do not go in there. It cannot go in every single deck. However, if you place them in your deck, they can just sit in your small group and reduce your universal costs. Not every deck has reducible universal costs. Or is it even beneficial to reduce universal cost? I put them in here because they're part of my favorite combo with Cordial. And I had Cordial in that deck as well. Next up, we are going to talk about cards that search. And if we're going to talk about cards that search, we have got to talk about Flow Ultra. Flow Ultra can go in every single deck. There's only like 2 decks that I have that I do not run Flow Ultra in. Flow Ultra has the ability says, you may discard this card from your small group. If you do, search your deck for any 3 Animo, reveal them and place them in your hand. Swap your deck afterwards. Flow has the swap ability. So I think that we could probably use Flow to search our deck for any cards. Any 3 cards that we need, really. It can be Cinnies, it can be the levels that we're missing. Flow Ultra is just great. As a matter of fact, when I played in the tournament, the top 2 decks that I saw playing there, they ran 3 Flow Ultras. I was expecting people to run 1, so that way they can use the other 2 space for the other Ultras. But I understand. Flow Ultra is one of the best cards. You're going to want to run her. We have Mercifier. This Mercifier, if it's in your small group, you can choose to swap it with a level 1 Animo in your deck. And with a virtue point of 7 or less. And it's really great, especially in Fellowship bonus decks, because most of them have Fellowship. They mostly have printed virtue points, which are 7 or less. And then you just get to swap it with Mercifier, and suddenly you have, a Humbumble who has a Fellowship bonus of 10. So, Mercifier is pretty good. Next up, we have Peter's Vision. Search your deck for a level 1 Animo and exchange it with a level 1 Animo and all equipment attached in your small group. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So you're basically switching out these level 1 Animo for one that you like, and you can use it to go grab Flow Ultra. Answer Prayer. Looks at the bottom 5 cards of your deck, adds 1 card in your hand, put the rest on the bottom in the order you desire. Sandcastle. You search your deck for an Ultra or Mega. That's pretty good. We use that in decks where we absolutely need our Ultra. Good Soil lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck for an Animo. Place in your hand. Then, got Tough as Nails. You place this card in your Cine area, and when your opponent plays Cine on you, you search your deck for 3 Animo. Next up, got Good Neighbor. You can either give your opponent 2, 4, or 6 virtue point of your score to a single opponent. So you're giving away up to 6 of your virtue points. For every 2 you give away, search your deck for any card and place it in your hand. Sacrificing up to 6 virtue points, realistically, isn't that terrible. But this is the sort of card that you're playing, and you're giving your opponent points. And sometimes those points matter. So, oftentimes we don't play a Good Neighbor, but it can go in any deck. Now, I got Lost and Found and Snake Bit. Lost and Found and Snake Bit are cards that do similar things. However, Lost and Found says search your deck for any 1 card, reveal to your opponent, place it in your hand. You may not play or discard that card this turn. Snake Bit. Playing this card forfeits your scoring phase. Return your hand to your deck, and you may select any 4 cards from your deck and place them in your hand. Shuffle your deck immediately. Your turn ends. Or your turn ends immediately. So basically, you're not getting your score phase, and they let you know that up front, but your turn immediately ends after using this card to basically set up your hand for next turn. This one lets you get 1 card from your deck, and you're just not able to use it for that turn. You'll be able to use it next turn. These 2 cards we don't really use anymore, but in Cross Trainers, I use this card a lot because I knew exactly the 4 cards I was going to get. I was going to get my Server Dude, I was going to get my Paul's Chains, and I was going to grab 2 Animo that I needed to use my combo. And because Server Dude would sit there, and I would use Paul's Chains to get the other 2 Animo I needed, and play, I would use it to get 2 Stagnetics, Armorino, and I would set myself up, discard Server Dude after drawing 3 cards with him, play my last Stagnetic, activate Armorino Ultra, discarding 3 power cards, activating 3 Stagnetics. We can't activate 3 Stagnetics anymore because he's been errated. It's only one copy per turn. So these are all pretty good. We have these two cards, which are fantastic. Paul's Chains is a card that I use a lot, all the time. The animal to whom this card is attached may not be activated. It may be discarded any time during your setup phase. Once per turn, as long as this card is attached to an animal in your small group, you may search your deck for up to 2 level 1 animal and place them in your small group. If there is no room to in your small group, this card has no use. Scarlet Core is also fantastic for similar reasons. The animal to whom this card is attached may either be returned to the hand or discarded from the small group at any time during your setup phase. If you choose to discard it, you may search your deck for any animal with an equal or lesser VP and place it on your hand. This card must be discarded once this action is used. Scarlet Cord is entirely responsible for being the equipment card that's going to make it so in Series 3, you can only use one equipment of the same name per turn. So you can only use one Scarlet Cord per turn. If you already have like a Scarlet Cord equipped to an Animo, it doesn't count towards that, because you can have a Scarlet Cord equip, use it to return an Animo to your hand, and then equip a different Scarlet Cord on the same turn, as long as you already had that Scarlet Cord in play before that turn began. But these cards are really great, and I really like them. Next up, got True Blue. True Blue has a swap ability. It says if this card's in your small group, you may swap any level 1 virtuous Animo in your discard pile, excluding Ultra Animo. True Blue is fantastic because we'll swap True Blue with anything that we need. I used to use him with Stagnetic all the time. That's the reason why he got the swap ability, because I would play 3 True Blues, discard all 3 True Blues to play 3 Stagnetics. So, I'm glad they corrected him. It also means you can't use True Blue in the same turn you use Flow Ultra. Lastly, we have Hoof It here. Hoof It has the ability, says, if this card's in your hand, you may choose to discard it. If you do, you may shuffle any 3 cards from your discard pile back into your deck. Really good card. It excludes itself, though. It has been errated to exclude itself, because we would discard Hoof It, and since Hoof It was technically in our discard pile while we're resolving this effect, we would choose Hoof It and 2 other cards. Now, it's not like that. Now, you can discard a Hoof It to put a Hoof It back in your deck. It just can't be the same copy. Alright, we have Herald Dash. Herald Dash is a universal animal that you can activate in any deck. All players may select a story card from their discard pile and shuffle it back into their deck. Herald Dash is fun. Herald Dash is fun. Then we have these 2 story cards to shuffle to get to recycle Animo. This card, select any animal in your discard pile, return to your hand. Fantastic. We use the grab Flow Ultra back. Shake and Break says return 2 level 1 ammo, excluding Ultra, from your discard pile to your hand. This card's fantastic because you can just go grab 2 animals with a Fellowship bonus, or Stagnetic and Flow Ultra, and get set up for the next turn. It's really good. Peter Sandals. When the animal to whom this card is attached is discarded, discard this card and shuffle the animal back into your deck. It basically is an instant Hoof It. It's great. Helmet of Salvation. The animal to whom this card is attached is discarded. Discard this card instead and return the animal to your hand. It's a fantastic card. Now we're moving on to cards that let you draw cards. This Stagnetic says once per turn, as long as this card is in your small group, you may choose to discard up to 3 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 1 card for each card you discard in this manner. Hightail. Hightail has a retreat ability that says if this card is in your hand, you may choose to reveal it to your opponent and shuffle it into your deck. If you do, draw 3 cards. It's a fantastic card. I love it. Daybeak is a card that I wouldn't run in every deck, but it does have an ability that you can just let it sit there in your small group, and anytime you have 0 cards in hand, once per turn, you can just draw 3 cards. Next up is Servitude. Servitude says, once per turn, you may draw one card for each Faith, Hope, or Holy Spirit animal in your small group. He doesn't go in every single deck because he doesn't go in Love deck. But I like running him every single deck that is not a Love deck, like a pure Love deck. If the deck does run Love, I'll run one Servitude. If the deck does not run Love, I will run 2 Servitudes, or maybe 3, just depending on how I'm feeling that day. Flamingro, level 2. Once per turn, you may draw one card for each Faith, Hope, or Love animal in your small group. It's kind of like Servitude. He doesn't go in Holy Spirit decks. However, if I'm running a Holy Spirit deck that runs something else, I could run him. But I'm going to choose the Servitude over him. Mostly because Servitude's a level 1, Flamingro level 2 is a level 2. So he's more difficult to play. Next up, we got Strider. Strider level 1. Strider level 1 has the swap ability, meaning you cannot use it in the same turn you use Flow or True Blue. So, his swap ability says, if this card's in your small group, and your small group is full, you may choose to swap it with a level 1 animal in your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. Caroline and I actually have experimented in several decks of just using Strider in that deck, whether we can activate him or not. Because most of the time, we fill up our small group, we have a level 1 we want to play, and if Strider's one of the cards in our small group, we'll just swap him out to draw 2 cards. And if we get 2 Striders, a Strider in our hand, a Strider in our small group, we'll swap out Strider for Strider to draw 2 cards. He's really good. Really like Strider. Next up, we have the Rich Fool, Fishing Nets, and Hidden Treasure. Okay. Rich Fool says draw the bottom 3 cards of your deck. Fishing Net says draw 2 cards, and if it's the last card in your hand, draw 4 cards instead. Hidden Treasure says place 1 card in your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you do, you may draw 3 cards. Just to be fair, Fishing Nets we have found has the least use because oftentimes we use it just to draw 2 cards because we like the cards in our hand. The Rich Fool has the most use because we can draw the bottom 3 cards of our deck. And Hidden Treasure says we use in decks where we like to have certain cards in our deck. So we'll use Hidden Treasure to place those cards back in our deck. Next up, we have Story Cards That Grow. Alright, so this one lets you skip a growth stage, so you can just play level 2 directly into your small group, or you can play a level 3 on top of a level 1. Mustard Seed lets you discard 2 cards from your hand, and you search your deck for up to 2 growth stages for an animal in your small group, and grow that animal. These cards only really go in deck where you need to grow, and I only really use them in decks that I use them for level 3 Animo. Next up, got Potpourri. Potpourri is a card I like to see. It says as long as this card's in your small group, ignore any effects or actions from any Sinnies revealed to you. Okay, we are moving on to cards that deal with Sinnies. So Potpourri deals with Sinny, Beautiful Gate deals with Sinny, Giant Killer deals with Sinny, and so does Paused Maws. They deal with Sinnies in different ways. Potpourri ignores actions. Beautiful Gate gets rid of a hindrance from a Sinny, or you can ignore the ability of a Sinny. Giant Killer either lets you play a Mega Sinny from your deck, or if you're facing a Mega Sinny, you return to the owner's hand and shovel it back. And Paused Maws lets you basically, your opponent can't play a Sinny on the turn after you play Paused Maws, and then you have to get rid of all copies of Paused Maws that are in play and in your deck and in your hand. Basically, you just can't use Paused Maws the rest of the game. I really like all these cards. I really do. Lastly, we have Alpha Lux Ultra, Prayer Group, and Broken Jar. Prayer Group is worth 3 points for every power card used to activate them. Alpha Lux Ultra, you gain 2 virtue points for each animal that's activated in the same turn. And Broken Jar says when this card is attached to an animal, you increase its power by 1, or its cost by 1, to increase its virtue points by 5. These cards can go in every single deck. They don't have to, though. So, the cards that I like to see in every deck are going to be Flow Ultra, Potpourri, Servitude, Hightail, and Hoof It, along with Paul's Chains, Scarlet Cord, Paw's Maws, and Giant Killer. In the Sophia deck, I won't use Paw's Maws. I might use Giant Killer, but I won't use Paw's Maws. So I won't my opponent to play Cindy's on me in that deck. Scarlet Cord is great because at worst case scenario, I attach it to Servidude and get rid of Servidude out of my small group. Same thing with Paul's Chains. But Paul's Chains searches for level 1 Animo. Hoof It recycles cards back in your deck, so every deck, I believe, has to have 2 Hoof Its. I like to run at least 2 Hightails in each deck. 1 to 2 Servidude, at least 1 Potpourris, and at least 1 Flow Ultra. So, anyways, so these are the main cards I like to see in every single deck, and sometimes I'll forfeit Scarlet Cord just to run more Paul's Chains. And with that, this video is already gone for 20 minutes, making up for the Universal deck. So with that, I'll bring this video to a close. In the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating cities.